So, Anita, it's really nice for you to come up and come and see what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve. Obviously, we've known each other for a long time. You've achieved so much in your shooting career. Tell me a little bit about yourself and why you love the sport so much.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to come along. It's been brilliant. First time here at Oxford Gun Company, and it's really good to see what you're trying to do here. Why do I love shooting so much? I don't know. I love it. It brought out a passion in me that I thought was incredible. It really brought out the competitive side of me, and I would actually say the biggest competition has been against myself. It was pushing myself and to see how far I could actually go. But it's also, there is a real social side to it. What I really like is the fact that shooting brought out the competitor in me. I felt incredibly driven, and it gave me a real sense of purpose. It gave me something outside of the norm, and I found that I really wanted to do as much as I possibly could. It made me try to be the best that I could be. That's why I really like it. I find it a complete and utter challenge in that developing that skill set that you need for it is amazing. I just completely and utterly love it. I have met, and what I really, really like as well is that I've been, it gave me an opportunity to do lots of travel. But I think the travel was almost an aside, because what it was really allowing me to do was to do those competitions. So, yeah, I was a relatively late comer to shooting as well. I was well into my 20s before I'd even been anywhere near a gun, because I'm from completely non-shooting background. My family were not into it at all. My mother thought I was, in fact, slightly, it was very unusual to even contemplate having a go.
And you've done it both. You've been into game shooting and you've been into clay shooting. Mm-hmm. And okay, we met when we were both shooting. You were shooting Olympic skeet and I was shooting double trap. But you happened to go on and win Olympic trap. And you happened to go on and win a gold medal at the 2010 Commonwealth Games. Yep. Tell me a little bit about that.
One of the biggest tests, I think, in my life. I felt very privileged to be able to compete in. That was my second Commonwealth Games. I'd also been in the 2002 Commonwealth Games. I felt very privileged to compete for England in a multi-sport event, which is the Commonwealth Games. I went in with a plan. It took me a long time as I developed in my international shooting, but I went in with a plan from the beginning of the year, really. So from going to a test event in, I think it was February or March, through to the games proper in October, I had a plan, a game plan for the whole year, and I stuck to that plan and it worked. It was revised, it was, established at the beginning of the year, but I went in. It was the most fabulous experience on the day. But I just felt as if it was my games.
And obviously the thing with shooting is what I wanted. When I gave up competitive shooting, I wanted to put something back into shooting. And the TSC brand started as, it was the Schools Challenge. Yep. It's now grown into, we've got the YouTube channel, we've got the competitions. The one thing that my family have always tried to do is promote the sport to the outside world, yep, which I feel is not done enough really we feel is not done enough in the gun trade. The gun trade, they're always inward looking, they're never outward looking. And the first thing I said when I launched a TV channel was, you never ever, you never see shooting on the TV. And I wanted to try and advertise shooting on the TV, mm-hmm, and lots of the big companies said, oh, you never do that, they never promote guns. Mm. And in actual fact, you can. I mean, I've had the Schools Challenge promoted when Tom won his first car. It was all over the BBC. Mm. And the whole idea is I wanted to do a wow factor. I wanted to make shooting go outside.
Yep.
I've got like some Bentley sponsoring it. We've now got MG. We've now got the biggest prize in clay shooting.
I think it's incredible that we have the opportunity to have, prizes of that kind of magnitude. Hasn't really been a great number of competitions where you actually have that, but I think to encourage your junior shooters with that kind of level is absolutely amazing, and hats off to you. It's really obvious to see that you are trying to do a lot for the sport. But yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, and it can be nothing but a positive.
And you being a female shooter, up till now, really, I mean, obviously now we've got the girls' car, but it's been very much a male-dominated sport, and I'm going to say an older-dominated sport. When you were getting into it, did you feel that it was very much male-orientated?
Oh, definitely. I think the by far the biggest majority of people that I met when I went shooting were men. But then I was lucky that there were some women around in shooting, but there weren't the numbers that there are now. I think what I found amazing and has really inspired me in recent years is that there is an increasing number of women of all ages, from junior women through to more senior women, even to retired ladies that are trying it for the first time. I think that has been brilliant, and I've been involved with the Shotgun and Chelsea Bun Club, and latterly the Ladies Shoot, that's transformed into Ladies Shooting Club, and I've seen the range of women that there are sort of like coming into it, and we need more and more of things like that happening to try and encourage as many people to have a go at shooting.
Well, yeah, I know you've got Shotgun and Chelsea Bun Club, and you've got Femme Fatales, and I know BASC do one.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it's going outside. It's not staying with your core.
Absolutely, I think that's what we need to do. There's a massive. I think that we can show that shooting can be very inclusive, because and that comes across as we need to show people that it doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair, if you're an amputee, if you're male, female, you can come and do this sport, which is fabulous, and you can make of it what you wish as well. You can be very competitive. You and I have both been competing at a high level, but it could also be somebody could take it as a very social thing as well. And I think the more that we encourage people, to have that general experience and to have that really good experience of shooting sports, then it's better for us.
And also, I mean, everyone sees the competitive side of it. It is expensive. It's an expensive sport, but it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to go and buy a Parazzi or a Browning or a Beretta and spend £5,000-10,000 on a gun. You can do it just for fun. You can do it under £1,000.
Absolutely.
And that's the other thing that I feel that needs to be pushed out there is, okay, if you want to go and win a gold medal at the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games, you've got to put a lot into it.
Yes.
But it's not the be or end of things.
No, absolutely. If you, there are things out there for people with all sorts of different budgets. I'm not going to say it's ever going to be the cheapest sport in the world, but people can be doing this on a budget. It doesn't have to be a massive amount of money that gets thrown into it. You don't need a massive pot. And that goes for clay shooting. It also goes for game shooting as well. But it's definitely. I think when I started out, I didn't have an expensive gun. I didn't have my first gun was not a Parazzi. My first gun was a very cheap gun, and then I went to spending a few £100s on a gun. So, and it was only later as I sort of like became more professional about it. And put my head down and made that big decision. And for me, it was a massive investment, and I had to go and I had to work for 3 years to pay for a gun. So, that I had, but I needed the right sort of, the right tool for the job. And my heart really is with, that Parazzi. And that was a very, very big decision for me to make. It was a major commitment. I mean, that was worth it. But yeah, before that, I was having lots of fun with something that was, nothing like as expensive. I think it depends on what level, like you say, you want to do it at.
And the other thing is the sport as a whole. I mean, we've been talking about Lanata. We've both of us been fortunate enough to go to Lanata, which is in Italy, which I believe is one of the best shooting grounds in the world. But when you come here and you go to, and even some of the trap grounds you go to, when you go to Bisley, when you go to Northampton, they're professionally run trap grounds. The competitions run. Sporting, it's you go to some of these little sporting grounds, run a CPSA, and they're all in the sort of trees, all in a gun club type environment, and there's not that professionality of it. How do you feel we can change that? How do you feel? And if you change that, that's when you'll get things like BBC interest, these massive sponsors interest.
I think there's a place for all sorts of different clubs out there. I think there are some, but we can make it in some ways. You've got to think of it being a sort of little bit customer orientated and make it a really nice experience. I think whether it's a small shooting ground or a large shooting ground, I just think just that little bit of a thought about making it that fabulous experience for people. Sometimes, and it's like looking at it as to what it would be like, make it a little bit family friendly as well. I think that's a really nice idea. Make sure that your facilities are clean. They don't have to be the biggest and poshest and most beautifully polished, but just make it sort of like that real family welcoming, suitable for everybody to come along. And that doesn't take a lot, does it? A smile can help.
It doesn't. A smile, and the other thing is having people there, having people at the ground that is experienced. And it's like people come to see you because of your wealth of experience. They come to see, hopefully we try, and here we've got the same thing. It doesn't make any difference when you've got a bit of paper in your hand. It's whether you can actually teach that experience and put that onto that next person.
Yeah, there is when it comes down to the coaching side, there is instructing and there is coaching as well. So there is, I think people need to go out and look for the two things. I think when you first start, it's very much instructor led, and that's what you really need. And then you start developing, and you need to be like the coach, and you need to go and see experts. And everybody has different skill sets and what they bring to a person, and different coaching styles suit different people. So yes, I think it's going out and finding the right kind of person. I think you here have got a range of experts on different areas, because it's not just about going out and getting somebody to hit clays. It's having somebody that, for example, they have a gun, they've got the right kind of gun, be it whatever budget it's on. But then there's also the making sure that it actually fits them. Because gun fit is one of my things.
That's a very, very good point. I mean, I always see the reason why we have got a big full-time shooting school, we've got DTL, we've got all sorts of different things, is I hate it when people go into a gun shop and they just buy a gun from a gun shop off the shelf.
Yeah.
And we have probably 40 different school guns, demo guns that the instructors can use. And I really hate, my biggest advice to anyone is don't buy a gun from a gun shop. Go to a shooting school where you can try with an expert, with that person that is prepared to spend that time with you.
Yeah.
Because just getting one off the shelf and just saying this is great, this doesn't make any difference whether that gun's £500 or £10,000. You should be able to find a gun that fits you off that shelf for your budget.
Do you think that people should also allow a budget for gun alteration when they're actually buying a gun, or should negotiate that should actually be included in the ultimate cost, that should be reflected in the cost of a gun?
Well, I always say to people, their biggest thing when they come in is set yourself a budget to set yourself up.
Yeah.
Now that budget includes a gun, that budget includes the clothing, that includes, try and have a lesson within that, so you've got that basic. So that is your budget. And if your budget is £800, if your budget is £1,000, we will find that the whole kit for that budget. It's about getting that package.
Yeah.
Now, there's certain people that go there, certain grounds that people go to, and they go there and they use a different gun, they use silly cartridges, heavy cartridges, and they thump. All that does is put people off. And that's really the biggest thing, is that professionality and where you want to go and what you want to do. And that shooting school is prepared to put the time and effort in to push you up.
I think sometimes you have to give people that really very positive ease into the sport, if they have any qualms at all. It's like some people, it's great, you can do like half an hour almost, and within half an hour they can be pulling the trigger. Somebody else may need a lot more time, and like you say, they may need repeat visits to somewhere to actually ease them into it. But overall, in the end, you've got to think about that experience, don't you think? I think
It's not just a matter of selling a gun; it's the whole package.
Yes, yeah.
So, what's your kind of goal within shooting now? Now you've kind of retired out of competitive shooting. What's your goal?
Yeah, so basically, I'm trying to develop myself and to develop into the best coach that I can be with people, and to try and encourage more people to come into shooting as well. I think that's great, to encourage people to try the Olympic disciplines, because people don't realise the range of disciplines, the range of different forms of clay shooting that there are out there. And there is something for everybody. And, you know, as much as you love sporting, yes, there's other things, and, you know, it's great trying to encourage people to give it a go at something else and to try these various different forms of clay shooting. And you never know, you just may find something that just may spark something inside you. And, you know, whether that's wanting to really compete or just to really spark you, that you get massive enjoyment from that particular discipline, I think is really good. So, yeah, so that's what I'm really sort of working towards. So I've been transitioning, and I was very, very fortunate that I had Martin Barker, who encouraged me to sort of start that transition from competitor into coach. And that's what I'm really doing. So now that's what I do. I'm a full-time coach.
Well, to be fair, it's amazing you say you got Martin Barker. With all those old traditional coaches, you've got my parents, you've got Martin Barker, you've got Ian Coley, you've got Joe Neville. The problem is all those people are now all getting to the age where they want to slow down. And that's the thing. We need to get that more core people to take on with it and take on that passion. Because the problem is, okay, in those days you had they were all passionate about it, and there's just not the people coming into it from underneath.
Yeah, I think you will find that there are some people out there that are definitely developing and growing as coaches, and they may not be immediately springing to mind, but I know some of the people that are out there that are going to make the most fabulous coaches. So that's really good. And that's why I started to do it as well, is because, I want there to be more people. And with things like, you know, you see things that are developing as well. British Shooting's pathway is still very much, you know, I would say in its early days. It's still developing, and it will, you know, that will continue, and that it is an evolving thing as well. So it's going to be great to see what happens with that. But, you know, doing things out is not just about that. It's doing things generally, lots of working one-to-one with people, because, you know, at the end of the day, that's what it's about as well. There's value in working with groups of people, but then there's also value in working, you know, on an individual basis. So and I really want to see more women in the Olympic disciplines. I want to see more junior women in the. I want to see more people, whether, you know, man or woman. I want to see more people.
It's a matter of getting more people into shooting, because as a whole, there's not actually shooting is. It's busy, but it's not actually growing that fast. Whether that's because it uses a gun, and this is why when we set up the Schools Challenge, it's not necessarily sporting as everyone knows it. It's a completely different discipline, and I've done it, so it's a bit like Olympic trap, double trap, Olympic ski. You have to go and practice those disciplines, so you have to train on them. And the Schools Challenge, everyone knows what type of targets you're going to get. But it's one of those things, if you want to win that car, you've got to train on it. So that's why it's kind of a pathway to Olympic disciplines, because it's the way you train up.
Okay, well, I'm really, really looking forward to coming along and having a look at all of this challenge as well. So I think that's what I'm going to have to do.
You never know, the final in December.
Yeah.
And then we'll find out who wins the cars.
Okay, in my diary now. Okay, but you know, in the meantime, I'd love to be having a look at some of this. I think I'd like to know more about what you're doing with all of this. So. It sounds really interesting.
Okay, well, thank you ever so much for giving your time, and hopefully we'll have more.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.